Chapter 20, Public Person, Private Self. I've never considered myself an activist. In fact, I wasn't sure I knew the word's exact definition, so I looked it up. According to Merriam-Webster, activist is both a noun and an adjective. An activist is a person who uses or supports strong actions, such as public protests, in support of or opposition to one side of a controversial issue. Whatever the definition, and leaving aside what I support or oppose, my public declaration of being undocumented was considered a form of activism by people from the left and the right. Since I am visible on social media, the attacks and demands from all sorts of people, from the left and the right, from people of all backgrounds, run deep. On any given day, people who've seen me on Fox News or read about me on conservative sites like Breitbart News, The Daily Caller, and Newsmax send private and public messages demanding my arrest and deportation. In the first days and weeks of the Trump presidency, tweets like "Christmas came early this year, it will be even earlier next year when at Jose is writing becomes deportee number 1, and hope your bags are packed at Jose is writing" started flooding my Twitter feed. Once news reports started circulating that officers from Immigration and Customs Enforcement are targeting high-profile illegal immigrants, a slew of messages landed on my feed, most from users who don't use their real names or real photos on their profiles. Usually, I ignore them, but this tweet from John Cardillo, host of the Daily Show America Talks Live on Newsmax, and whose account is verified by Twitter, was hard to ignore. Hey, at Jose is writing, TikTok, ICE detains illegal immigrant activists. Often, I ignore the tweets, Facebook messages, and emails. To deal with how personal people online can get, how cutting and revolting their language is, I've thought of myself as the subject of a news story. I try as hard as I can to look at the hateful words and the deplorable phrases with distance and detachment. They're not talking about me, they don't even know me. This illegal alien person they're describing with such vulgarity is someone else. It's not me. Not all the reaction, online and off, is negative. After my first appearance on The O'Reilly Factor in June 2012, I received an email from Dennis Murphy of Omaha, Nebraska, who described himself as the founder and former state chairman of the Nebraska Minutemen, which had merged with the Nebraska Tea Party. I was positively impressed by your interview with Bill O'Reilly, Murphy wrote. You now refer to yourself in your blog as an undocumented American, which I believe is a fair and accurate assessment. And sometimes the people who follow me on Twitter and watch me on Fox News are not at all who I think they are, in the same way that I am not who they think I am. Is it you? Are you the illegal guy on Fox? Said the tall, middle-aged white man in khakis and the striped white shirt and oversized black coat. He and I were standing in the Delta Airlines terminal at Tampa International Airport, waiting to board a flight to LaGuardia Airport. It was February 2015. I had just given a speech at the Black, Brown, and College Bound Summit for African American and Latino students at a hotel in downtown Tampa. I was headed to New York City for meetings. Sometimes because of TV appearances, I got recognized in public, mostly at airports and Starbucks. It's been about 70-30. Most people are supportive, and many of them come out to me as undocumented. Some get a little aggressive, asking why I have still not gotten deported. More often than not, I engage in conversations. But I was too tired to engage that afternoon in Tampa. Instead of answering, I half nodded, then walked away, lugging my carry-on bag. I spent more time in airports and planes than in whatever apartment I was living at. I changed apartments 4 times in the past 7 years, New York City, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, Los Angeles, as I traveled to the countless cities and towns in 48 states, doing more than 1,000 events, speaking at panels, giving speeches, visiting schools, meeting with all kinds of people from all backgrounds. I fly so much, especially on Delta Airlines and American Airlines, that I often get upgraded to first class, as I was that afternoon. A few seconds after I boarded the plane, as I was stowing my luggage, the white man in the oversized black coat grabbed my left shoulder as he walked by. I didn't know illegals fly first class, he said. I sat down. I wasn't sure if anyone else heard him, but the woman clutching her iPad across the aisle must have seen my face. I was upset. I'd been used to all the words, but that was the first time I had been touched, and I didn't know how to react. I felt violated. I was mad. I put on my headset and tried to get lost in my own thoughts with Ella Fitzgerald and Joni Mitchell. That didn't work. A few minutes later, after the flight had taken off, I stood up and headed to the bathroom, even though I did not need to go to the bathroom. I wanted to see where he was sitting, which was near the middle of the plane in a middle seat between 2 women. He didn't see me looking at him, at least I don't think he did. What was his story? Why did he think it was okay to grab me like that? Did it make him feel good? Feel better? Stronger? Superior? What was going through his mind when he decided that his hand should land on my shoulder? What else did he want to say? What else did he want to do? And what should I do? I bought Wi-Fi access and got on my personal Facebook page, which only my friends and relatives can see. I summarized what happens and ended the post with, "This is going to be an awkward flight." "Awkward for whom?" wrote my friend Trisha. "You're the one flying in style while he gets coach, as it should be." I wish I could listen to my friend Glenn, who wrote, "You upset him just by being yourself and doing the right thing. You win. Don't give him one more thought or one more second of your time." This wasn't about winning or losing, and I couldn't stop thinking about him in the middle seat. I'm a big guy, and his shoulders were bigger than mine. "Not fun for the middle seat." Todd chimed in. "Ask the flight attendant to send back some champagne to him and watch his head explode." Should I tell the flight attendant? I didn't know what to do until I read what Graciela wrote. "So you're in first class and he's not. Sounds perfect." After reading that comment, I decided to talk to the guy. Once we landed at LaGuardia International Airport, I grabbed my bags and waited for him to get out of the plane. He was surprised to see me waiting outside the terminal. "I'm Jose," I said. "Eric." I asked if it was Eric with a C or Eric with a K, and it was the former. He wouldn't give me his last name. I told him that I got upgraded to first class because I travel so much. The upgrade, I said, was free. "Must be nice," Eric said. "Yes, it is," I said, feeling upset at myself for wanting to explain myself to him. I don't owe this guy an explanation. Why am I talking to him? "Look, I didn't mean to seem like a jerk. I've seen you on TV, bragging." "Bragging about what?" "Being illegal." I told him that it wasn't something I brag about. It's not something I'm proud of. It's something I want to fix, and that there's no way to fix it. "You want to get legal?" "Of course. Why would I want to be like this?" "Oh." He lives in New Jersey, right outside of Trenton. He said he was 48 and he had just gotten laid off from his job at an insurance company where he had worked for almost a decade. He's divorced with 2 kids, both teenagers. After about 15 minutes of conversation as we made our way into the baggage claim area, he felt the need to point out that he voted for Obama twice. I told him Obama had deported more immigrants than any other modern president, a fact that seemed to surprise him. "Politics," he said, shrugging. "Fucking politics," I said. I gave him my business card and wrote defineamerican.com/facts on the back of it. That site, I told him, is all the facts he would ever need to know about immigration. I wanted to ask him if he knew where his ancestors came from, if he knew what papers they had when they moved to America, but I didn't. I told him I needed to go and we parted ways. I've yet to hear from him on email. It's not only people who've seen me on Fox News who appoint themselves as immigration officials questioning why I'm here. In May 2018, I was invited to speak at a symposium on early life stress, organized and hosted by the Picower Institute for Learning and Memory at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. The gathering attracted a who's who of expert on children's mental health. Barbara Picower, an early booster and supporter of Define American, kicked off the day-long conference and sat in the front row. I'd never been surrounded by so many pediatricians, researchers, and scientists, all grappling with how to study and combat what everyone was calling toxic stress. The first speaker was Dr. Nadine Burke Harris, the founder of the Center for Youth Wellness, whose TED Talk, How Childhood Trauma Affects Health Across a Lifetime, has more than 3.7 million views. Before Jeffrey Canada, the creator of the much-lauded Harlem Children's Zone, took the podium to close out the day. I participated in a panel. About 100 people were in the room. Some people had either seen me on TV or heard my story. Some people had not. After my brief talk, a middle-aged woman sitting in the middle of the room raised her hand. She looked like she was South Asian. "I find your comments very offensive because we are immigrants. We came legally to this country. We followed all the rules," she said, looking at me straight in the eye. I could feel the room's temperature heighten. The woman continued. "You should not group together legal and illegal immigrants because we followed every rule that the U.S. told us to follow. We didn't break any laws, and we entered this country legally." A young woman was seated directly in front of the older South Asian woman. She looked increasingly uncomfortable, eventually appearing to melt into her seat. I thought I heard some people gasp. Others looked at me in horror. The older woman went on, her voice rising. "You've broken the laws of this country. Don't bind legal with illegal. We are different. We are not you." At that point, I jumped in. "Don't lose your cool," I started telling myself. "Don't yell, don't get mad, don't lose your cool." I hear this a lot, and it's really important that we address it. Out of 34 people in my Filipino-American family, I'm the only one who's undocumented. So you cannot separate the legal from the illegal, I said. And by the way, I am here illegally, but as a human being, I cannot be illegal because that doesn't exist. People cannot be illegal. She cut me off. "You had a chance to become legal because of amnesty," which was in 1986, I interjected. "I came here in 1993. One of the symposium's organizers intervened and said the conversation was off topic. I wanted to keep going. I wanted to show everyone in the room that when it comes to immigration, the ignorance and indifference goes far beyond the confines of Fox News, conservative radio, and Breitbart. They were right here at MIT. After the panel, the attendees started spilling out of the room. I looked for the woman and found her. She wouldn't give me her name. She said she emigrated from India and that she became a U.S. citizen because of her husband. She also told me that she was an immigration lawyer. I was floored. If an immigration lawyer was foggy on the history of America's immigration policies, then who could be expected to keep it straight? She was condemning me for not following a process that didn't exist. Breathe, I told myself. Breathe in, breathe out. Find compassion for this woman. All the resources that are going to be illegal should be going to the blacks, she said, referring to Canada's speech. Canada is African American. They're Americans, you're not. I gave her my business card and walked away.